How many people does it take to outweigh the value you put on your own life? The need to survive and the will to live is the most fundamental idea to a person. Without it, they are nothing. Every person is entitled to live their life, and if evil actions could ever be justified, then wanting to live would be the penultimate justification. Every person may not be able to live their life equally due to differences, but everyone's life has an equal value. No person should ever be forced to put down their right to live. The hero who sacrificed their life for the greater good is no better than the scared person who chose a mundane life. Pokémon Mystery Dungeons Explorers of Sky is a spin-off game of the main series, where everyone in the world is a Pokémon, and it tackles ideas like this. The game wrongly puts the character Dusknoir and his worldview in the role of the villain, when the truth, he is no villain, he is just an antagonist, one which it is easy to empathize with. See, Dusknoir has no twisted motives. He has no self-righteous ideals that justify heinous acts like a villain might. He has the only privilege shared amongst all, the idea that can justify anything, the right to live. All throughout history, self-defense has been a basic human right, and this Pokemon game puts this idea to the extreme with Dusknoir. He did nothing wrong, but that statement begs the question, is your self-defense as important as a genocide of a people? And what is living versus surviving? Don't answer just yet, and let me explain your position first. In this Pokemon game, the main character is transformed into a Pokemon, and lives and adventures in a happy, whimsical world, which we will call the main timeline, in which this timeline we are helped by Dusknoir to stop a criminal who we think is actively destroying the world by stealing time gears, the criminal being a Pokemon called Grovyle. But as the main story progresses, we learn the main twist of the story, that Grovyle is actually from the future of the main timeline and is trying to save everyone in the past from almost utter annihilation. He's trying to steal all the time gears from the past to save the world and change what will happen in the future. Meanwhile, Dusknoir is also from the future and is trying to stop Grovyle from changing the past, meaning he's actually trying to see the destruction of the world the main character now lives in like it happened before. Dusknoir and Grovyle from the future live in a bleak and dark place where there is barely any life, but it is still where they grew up. After hearing the stories of the past, Grovyle found a way to go back and stop the world from becoming what they know it as. So pretty much, the future Dusknoir and Grovyle live in is barely inhabitable and dead, and Grovyle wants to go back and change the past / the world from turning this way. Dusknoir wants to stop him. As the main character learns of Dusknoir's evil intentions, they team up with Grovyle to collect the time gears and help him change the past and save themselves. When they finally defeat Dusknoir from trying to stop them one final time, Dusknoir gives the main character vital information. He asks him why he's helping Grovyle, because if he helps Grovyle succeed, yes, the past will change and the world will continue to be a happy place where everyone lives, but the future where Grovyle and Dusknoir exist will be no more. Grovyle and Dusknoir will essentially die. The entire story, Dusknoir has just been trying to survive, but he knows in doing so, he will send the world into a ruin like it has already done once before. Dusknoir was born and raised in the bleak future. He doesn't know the people of the past. They are just strangers. He has only come to know them somewhat because he has traveled back to try and stop Grovyle from quote-unquote saving the world. Grovyle knows what will happen and he's willing to see himself die for the greater cause, but Dusknoir does not. Why can't he just live? The game putting Dusknoir in the wrong never sat right with me. How can we blame him wanting to live? Everyone in the past has already died before. This is self-defense. But still, when does self-defense become genocide? Maybe Dusknoir shouldn't defend himself because in doing so, many people will die, and the world will be wasted. Dusknoir has to make the decision of how much he values himself and is it more than a population. Dusknoir has already struggled so much his whole life just to live in the bleak future. Now Grovyle wanting this life to have never existed in the first place is the biggest disrespect to what Dusknoir and everyone else in the future has had to do to survive. Through it all, the people in the future decided to keep going, but Grovyle is selfishly making the decision to end their suffering. Who made him God to decide the values of others when everyone is the same? Dusknoir's self-defense is not your normal case either. See, this is not real-world politics where you can claim self-defense at first and then use it as an excuse to kill a whole lot of people. Dusknoir is quite literally put in the position of let everyone die or you and your own home die, no in between. Some could say that this genocide is natural, since they are going to die anyways in the future. Dusknoir's struggle to live should not be undermined because of Grovyle's desire for a greater purpose and sacrifice. You do not have to be some well-respected beacon of selflessness to be important. Dust Noir is a statement that by living you are already fulfilling your purpose and are valued. I empathize with Dust Noir as life can sometimes feel like you're just surviving and not really living out the potential you know you have. When Grovile is making the decision to destroy his world and save another, he actively has to put the value of his own life below that of all he's met in the past, when stacked up on top of each other. When valuing your own life and choosing to love yourself is already such a hard thing, it feels weird for Dust Noir to seem so evil. But this is the sad reality, because the choice for Dust Noir is selfish, and Grovile's choice is selfless. Dust Noir is killing people, and his self-defense is genocide. Dust Noir must die to do the right thing, but he just wants to survive. Because once he survives, then he can truly live. But wait, is living different than surviving? Grovile explains this in a special episode. Grovile eventually accomplishes his task and saves the past, but he is sent back into the future with Dust Noir. In only a few more hours, the past will be saved and the world they are in and themselves will cease to exist. Dust Noir laments his failure next to Grovile. Everything he has done has been for nothing. He's going to die and not survive. Faced with despair, Dust Noir decides to follow Grovile, and he says he has one final thing to do. On their travels, Dust Noir doesn't really know what to do. He makes conversation with Grovile. He asks about his motivations. Dust Noir learns that his longtime rival has been fighting all this time just like himself. Dust Noir has been fighting to survive and live, but Grovile has been fighting to live only. Not just to save the world for the better future, but to do what he sees as truly living, to shine. Dust Noir laughs at his own futility on their travels and clings to the beacon of hope next to him, Grovile. Although he doesn't show it, Dust Noir slowly becomes more fond of the ideas of Grovile. And on their journey, we also see Dust Noir's kindness. On multiple occasions, he saves Grovile's life, much to Grovile's surprise. After one such of these encounters, they sit nearby in a ragged cave. This is when Grovile gives his speech on why he changed the past, why he sacrificed the future even though he will disappear. Quote, "Everything ends eventually. Even if history is not changed, even if the world of darkness continues in its current state, eventually the day will come when I won't be here anymore. Since that is the case, the timing of it doesn't matter. The important thing is not how long you live, it's what you accomplish with your life. While I live, I want to shine. I want to prove that I exist. If I could do something really important, that would definitely carry on into the future. No, not just into the future. In their future too. My spirit has become a part of them, I believe. In them, my spirit is alive, and that spirit could be passed along to others. And so, if I were to disappear, I think that all I have been and accomplished will go on. That would mean that it's living, right?" In fact, Dust Noir and Grovile were never that different. They both wanted to live, and live a good life at that. At the end of the day, when Dust Noir failed, Grovile showed him he can live and shine even though if it's cut short. Because what's important is what you accomplish, and not how long you survive. Doing what you think is right is living. Surviving and staying alive to then live. Surviving is something forced upon you. Living is something you get to choose. No, it's something you claim. It's beautifully ironic that Grovile wants to prove he exists by taking away his own existence. He will forever be in the memories of others never truly dying. And it is this final speech that fills Dust Noir with the will to live again even though he will die soon. To live stronger than he has ever before and not just survive. Even if he disappears, his spirit will live on. It is in this scene Dust Noir is changed, although he will not show it, or maybe he does not even know it himself yet still in denial. Dust Noir has always tried to survive, so he could find his own meaning, so he could shine. But the grievous tragedy that he would facilitate in doing so smothered his flame. But now faced with failure and death, a light is slowly burning within him. Now all that's left is for Grovile and Dust Noir to disappear. Grovile and Dust Noir reach the peak of an icy mountain where they must defeat some final boss to solidify the changing of the past. Here, Dust Noir is given a final test. Right now, if he were to betray Grovile, the past would not change and he would survive. But he saves Grovile here, and he will disappear along with everyone else. Tortured by his own change, he struggles with his past ideals and his new ones, but ultimately makes the decision to save Grovile. Dust Noir, who so badly wanted to survive, made the decision in the end not to. Dust Noir and Grovile finish the final task and lay atop the icy mountain, now awaiting their existence to disappear. They feel themselves disappearing, and Dustnora has one final conversation with Grovyle. Dust Noir and everyone in the future ceased to exist. In actuality, Dust Noir never failed in his goal because he's living right now. He is shining thanks to the man he hated the most. Dust Noir was just trying to live, but so was Grovyle. It was just that Grovyle's version of living was engraving his accomplishments into the history books called Those Who Saved the World, and that he will truly live in the hearts of others. Dust Noir and Grovyle are two people finding two different ways to pursue their own same meaning. And when one failed, he clung to the ideals of what he could say was his alter ego, and shined. Now, how many people does it take to outweigh the value you put on your own life? None. Nothing should outweigh your own life. You perceive everything in your own senses, and without you, there is no world, there is nothing. But now if you know that and still decide to be the hero like Grovyle, I will applaud you. But if you don't do anything grand and just survive like Dust Noir, you should applaud yourself. For either choice is right. To sacrifice or to live, neither are in the wrong. But keep in mind, though, maybe you will just survive. You will claw and grip and scratch your way up the mountain and use others and push your way up. And when you get there, to the top, there is no sun. So I hope you can find something in life that you can call living more than just surviving. Something that makes you turn around to see the sunset before you reach the top of the mountain. I hope you can not just survive, but live. Live and shine, just like Dust Noir did.